Aunt Carol's big anniversary turned into chaos when hidden secrets came out and favoritism tore the family apart. So last weekend my family got together for my Aunt Carol's 25th wedding anniversary. It was supposed to be this huge, elegant thing, a rented hall at a fancy hotel downtown, white and gold decorations, live band, the whole deal. Carol 49F is my mom's younger sister, and honestly, she's always been the golden child in the family. My grandparents doted on her while the rest of us just got whatever was left. When I walked in with my mom, the first thing I noticed was the seating chart. Carol and her husband had their table front and centre, of course, but what got me was how lopsided the rest was. My mom, the oldest sister, was stuck at a far corner table near the kitchen doors, while Carol's kids had prime spots next to her. My uncle Richard, their brother, grumbled. Classic mom and dad, because yet my grandparents were seated right next to Carol, beaming like royalty. It already rubbed people the wrong way. My mom whispered to me, they'll never change, Carol could burn the house down and they'd still clap for her. But things really exploded after dinner. The band stopped playing for a moment, and Carol's husband, Mike, stood up to give this long, sentimental speech. You know the type, 25 years, I still remember the day I met Carol, she was radiant, blah blah. It was sweet, until he said something that hit weird. He joked, back then, I thought I had competition, but little did I know Carol only had eyes for me. At first, everyone laughed. But then my cousin Emma, Richard's daughter, who's never been shy, muttered loud enough for people to hear. Yeah, except for Dad's best friend back in the day. The whole table went silent. You could feel the air shift. My mom's fork literally froze mid-air. My grandparents stiffened. Carol's face went pale. Emma, that's enough, Richard hissed, trying to wave it off. But the damage was done. People started whispering. What is she talking about? Mike asked, half laughing but clearly uncomfortable. Emma leaned back in her chair with a smug look. Ask her about Tom, you know, Dad's old best friend. Funny how he stopped going around after Carol got married. Carol slammed her wine glass down so hard it spilled. That is not appropriate, Emma, she snapped, her voice shaking. Mike's smile faded instantly. Carol, what is she talking about? My mom looked down at her plate, avoiding eye contact, which made it worse. Richard muttered something under his breath. And my grandparents, who usually defend Carol no matter what they looked like, they'd seen a ghost. At this point, the whole room was buzzing. Guests who weren't even family were leaning in, whispering, waiting for an explanation. Carol stood up, her hands trembling, and said through gritted teeth, this is not the time or the place. But Mike wasn't letting it go. No, if there's something I need to know after 25 years of marriage, I think this is exactly the place. And that's when the celebration started unraveling completely. The tension was unbearable. Half the guests tried to act like nothing was happening, cutting their cake or sipping champagne, but you could see them sneaking glances, ears straining. My cousin Emma clearly wasn't backing down, and poor Mike looked like he was about to either walk out or demand answers right there. Carol's voice cracked as she said, Michael, please, don't do this in front of everyone. He didn't even sit down. He turned to Richard. Is this true? Did something happen between Carol and your friend? Richard let out this deep sigh, rubbing his forehead. Mike, it was a long time ago, before you two were even official. That only made the whispers louder. My mom, who was sitting right next to me, muttered under her breath, oh God, here we go. Mike's face went red. So you knew? Everyone knew but me? And that's when my grandma, sweet old lady, usually quiet at gatherings, blurted out, we told her to forget Tom and we told her Mike was a better choice. The room froze again. Imagine admitting, in front of everyone, that you basically steered your daughter's entire life. Carol whipped around at her parents. Mom, for God's sake. Well, my grandpa chimed in too, stubborn as always. What? It's true, Tom was no good for you. You would have ruined your life chasing him. Michael gave you stability. I swear, you could have heard a pin drop after that. All the favoritism that had been simmering under the surface suddenly felt exposed. My mom looked absolutely furious, and Richard's jaw was clenched so tight I thought he was going to break a tooth. Mike finally sat down, but not in defeat and shock. He stared at Carol like she was a stranger. So it's true, there was another man. Carol was practically begging at this point. Michael, please. I was young, I was confused. It was before us. Then why hide it? He cut her off, his voice trembling. Why keep it a secret for 25 years? Emma jumped back in, fanning the flames, because Grandma and Grandpa made everyone bury it, just like they bury everything else Carol does. That comment unleashed my mom. She slammed her hand on the table so hard the silverware rattled. Oh, now the truth comes out. Do you have any idea what it was like growing up with you two worshipping Carol while Richard and I were treated like leftovers? My grandma looked horrified. That's not true. We loved all of you. Loved? My mom snapped. You bailed Carol out of everything. Every mistake, every screw up, she got a free pass while we were expected to be perfect. And now look, you covered up her whole damn relationship because you didn't want to ruin her chances. People were whispering, oh my God, and is this real? All around us. Some guests were straight up recording on their phones. Carol's face was red, her hands gripping the tablecloth. This isn't how tonight was supposed to go, she muttered, almost to herself. But Mike stood up again, his voice low and raw. Maybe tonight's the only night the truth could come out. Mike's words hung in the air like a threat. Maybe tonight's the only night the truth could come out. Carol was shaking her head furiously. No, Mike, please, don't do this here. But Emma, who clearly had been holding this grenade for years, wasn't stopping. She leaned forward, loud enough for half the hall to hear. Why not? You all spent decades pretending nothing ever happened. Grandpa practically threatened Dad when he tried to tell the truth. Remember that? That. Richard's face turned crimson. I meant enough. But Mike locked eyes with him. No, she's right. Tell me. Richard, I deserve to know. Did she love your friend? Richard looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. He hesitated, then said quietly, yeah, she did. Tom and Carol, they were close. Too close. And when it blew up, my parents decided it was best for everyone to sweep it under the rug. Pretend it never happened. The whole erupted in whispers. I heard someone behind me whisper, this is like a soap opera. Mike's jaw tightened. So for 25 years, I've been celebrating anniversaries, raising kids, building a life with you, while the secret was hanging over us. Carol reached for his arm, desperate. It wasn't like that. I chose you, Mike. I always chose you. Emma scoffed. Or Grandma and Grandpa chose for you. That stung. Carol's expression crumbled. For the first time, she looked less like the perfect golden child and more like someone trapped. My mom jumped in, her voice sharp. Don't you see, Mike, this is what they do. They bend the world so Carol always comes out spotless. The rest of us had to carry the weight. But her, she was shielded, protected, baby, even from her own mistakes. Grandma's voice cracked. We just wanted the best for her. Richard shot back, and what about us? Didn't we deserve the best too? Or were we just background characters in Carol's perfect little story? Guests were shifting uncomfortably, some excusing themselves to the lobby, others staying glued like it was live theatre. Mike finally turned back to Carol. His voice was quiet, but it cut deeper than yelling. Did you ever tell me about Tom? Even once? Carol's lip trembled. I know. Why not? Because I was afraid. Afraid you'd leave, afraid it would ruin everything we built, and because they told me to keep quiet. She gestured toward her parents, tears finally spilling. The look on Mike's face broke me. It is the look of someone realizing their whole marriage might have been built on half-truths. I can forgive mistakes, Carol, he said, his voice shaking. But lies that lasted 25 years, I don't know. My mom muttered, almost bitterly, welcome to the club. At that point, Carol completely lost it. She pushed back her chair, standing so suddenly it screeched across the floor. You all act like I had it so easy, like being the favourite was some magical gift. Do you know what it's like to live under constant pressure to be perfect? To know if you slip, even once, the whole family will hate you. Her voice cracked. I didn't have to be the favourite, I didn't want it. The room fell dead silent. Even Em looked startled. And then Mike whispered, but you never gave it up either. Carol's meltdown wasn't subtle. She sank back into her chair, head in her hands, muttering things that barely made sense. I didn't ask for this, I didn't ask for any of it. Mike stood across from her, silent for a moment, just watching. Then he said, his voice low but firm, Carol, I need honesty, not excuses. Did you ever feel guilty about keeping all this from me, from everyone? Tears ran down her cheeks. Every day, every single day, but I couldn't go against them. They made it clear. Mom and Dad, one slip, one word, and I'd ruin everything. I was trapped, and I thought I was doing the right thing by keeping it hidden. My mom, sitting a few chairs away, muttered under her breath, trapped. You had everything handed to you on a silver platter. Emma grinned a little, though it was cruel. And we all suffered while you were trapped, huh? Carol shot her a look that could have burned through steel. Emma, don't you dare act like you understand. Richard finally spoke up, his voice tight. Maybe we all need to calm down. This is a family event, or at least it was supposed to be. But it was too late. Mike shook his head. No, Richard, I don't think it's ever going to become again, not after all of this. He turned back to Carol. I don't know if I can keep pretending I'm okay with all this, the lies, the favoritism, the hiding. I don't know if I can. Carol's lip quivered. Mike, No, he interrupted. Not yet, you need to earn it first, fully, no more hiding, no more excuses. At that moment, my grandparents finally spoke. Grandma's voice cracked as she tried to defend herself. We only wanted what was best for Carol. Don't make her feel worse than she already does. My mom cut in sharply. What about the rest of us? Did we get a choice in any of this? Or were we just supposed to sit quietly while you decided who got the golden knife? Carol's hands flew up. Mom, stop it, stop blaming them, you don't get it. Emma laughed bitterly. Oh, I think we get it, too well. All these years, perfect Carol, shielded from every consequence, and now, the truth's out. The room was on edge, people shifting uncomfortably in their seat. Some of the family had taken sides silently, while others, like distant cousins and a few old friends, were wide-eyed, clearly shocked at the intensity of the confrontation. Mike finally broke the silence. I need space, I love you, Carol, but I can't just act like none of this happened, not anymore. Carol gasped, her face going pale. You're leaving? I need time, I can't decide now. She stumbled backward, clutching the table for support, while my grandparents looked horrified. Em smirked quietly, almost proud of herself. My mom shook her head, muttering about favoritism and hypocrisy. At that moment, the party that was supposed to celebrate love, loyalty, and family completely collapsed. Cake was half-eaten, champagne sat untouched, and guests whispered nervously to each other in corners. Harold's perfect life, the life everyone assumed was flawless, had cracked wide open. It was the beginning of a long reckoning. After Mike walked out, the room felt hollow. The live band had stopped playing altogether, and most of the guests were quietly moving toward the exits, murmuring in disbelief. Carol sat at the table, head in her hands, shaking. For the first time, she looked like she wasn't the golden child, just a woman facing the consequences of decades of secrecy. My mom, still fuming, leaned over and said quietly but sharply, you think this is just about Mike? It's not. This is every single thing you got away with because you were special. The favoritism, the protection, the hiding of mistakes. You've lived your life untouchable, and now it's all unraveling. Carol flinched. I never wanted it to hurt anyone. I thought I was doing the right thing. Right thing? My mom snapped. You call burying a relationship, lying to your husband, and letting everyone think you're perfect the right thing. Emma, grinning now openly, leaned in. Honestly, Aunt Carol, it's kind of poetic that all your secrets are spilling out during your anniversary. It's like the universe finally got tired of pretending. Richard sat back, silent for a moment, then sighed heavily. I never wanted to say anything, but she's been hiding too much. It's not fair. It's not fair to Mike, not fair to the rest of us. Grandma's face went red. Richard, you'll ruin her. Don't you dare. Richard cut her off, voice rising for the first time I've ever heard. No, enough, she's ruined her own life by keeping everyone in the dark. Stop protecting her. It's gone too far. Harold's hands flew up, almost in defense. I can't believe this, My mom interrupted, softer this time, almost pitying. You've been the golden child for 49 years. Everyone's forgiven you for everything, but now the truth is out. People see the real Carol, and you have to deal with that. Finally. Carol's eyes filled with tears. I didn't ask for this. I didn't choose any of this. Em smirked again. You may not have chosen to be the favourite, but you sure used it. By now, the remaining guests were mostly silent, watching the family drama unfold like a live reality show. Someone whispered, this is worse than my last wedding disaster. Mike had called earlier to say he wasn't coming back tonight. Carol had begged, but he was firm. He needed space. Tension between them, something no one could ignore, was now an elephant in the room. Carol finally slumped back in her chair, exhausted, broken. For the first time in decades, she wasn't laughing at jokes, basking in attention, or receiving adoration. She was just vulnerable. My mom, still fuming but now calmer, muttered to me quietly, this is what happens when favoritism ruins the balance. No one can survive it, not even the golden child. And that's when I realized this anniversary wasn't about celebrating 25 years of marriage. It was the day every secret, every act of favoritism, every lie, finally came crashing down, and nobody in that hall would ever forget it. The next morning, the aftermath of the anniversary was heavy in the house. Carol hadn't slept much, and neither had anyone else in the family. Text messages and phone calls were flying back and forth, most from relatives asking if everyone was okay, which, obviously, no one was. Carol sat at the breakfast table, a normally polished self replaced by a weary, almost fragile version. She hadn't touched her coffee. Mike hadn't called since he left the night before. My mom hovered nearby, not exactly offering comfort, but not entirely hostile either. You need to face them, my mom said quietly, almost reluctantly. Your parents, Emma, Richard, everyone. You can't keep hiding behind excuses. Carol shook her head, tears glistening in her eyes. I know, I feel like I've been exposed for everything, all at once. Richard came into the kitchen, rubbing his temples. Carol, you need to understand what you've done. All of us knew something was off, but keeping it secret for decades it hurt everyone, not just Mike. Everyone. Emma, lurking near the doorway with a slight smirk, added, Welcome to reality, Aunt Carol. No more golden child, no more perfect life. You get to deal with the consequences now. Even Grandma looked shaken, her usual certainty replaced by guilt. I thought I was helping, she said softly. I never meant to hurt anyone. Carol finally buried her face in her hands. I know, Mom, I know, but it doesn't make it any easier. I've been living my life pretending it was all fine, and now it's not. Nothing is fine anymore. Mike finally called late that morning. His voice was calm and measured. Carol, I need time. I can't just pick up like nothing happened. I love you, but I need to process everything. All the lies, all the secrets. I don't know if I can forgive it yet. Carol's hands trembled around the phone. I understand, I'll wait. I'll do whatever it takes. She spent the rest of the day in a strange limbo talking to family members, apologizing, listening, and trying to make sense of everything. My mom, surprisingly, gave her some advice. Maybe now you can start being honest, really honest, with yourself and everyone else. You can't change the past, but you can decide how to move forward. By evening, Carol had started journaling, a task she'd avoided for years. She wrote about her fears, her mistakes, and how she'd let favoritism dictate her life. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Richard came by later, quieter than usual. Carol, you're going to have to rebuild trust, slowly, and I'll help where I can, but this isn't going to be fixed overnight. Carol nodded, exhausted but determined. I know, I need to face the truth for once, instead of hiding. For the first time in decades, Carol wasn't the untouchable golden child. She was just a woman facing the consequences of her choices, with a long road ahead. Family was fractured, some parts raw and open, but there was the faintest glimmer of potential repair if everyone, including Carol, was willing to be honest from now on. It wasn't the ending anyone expected for a 25th anniversary, but maybe it was the one they all needed. A week after the disastrous anniversary, the family slowly started trying to mend things. The tension didn't magically disappear, but conversations became more honest. Carol had spent days reflecting, apologizing, and trying to understand how favoritism and secrecy had shaped her life and her relationships. Mike hadn't fully returned to Carol yet, but they were talking cautiously. He admitted that he needed to see her commitment to honesty before he could consider rebuilding trust. Carol listened quietly, taking in every word. I understand, she said softly. I'll do whatever it takes to earn it back. I don't want to lose you, but I also know it's my responsibility to prove I can be honest. My mom surprisingly softened as well. Carol, maybe this is your wake-up call. You've been protected for so long, maybe too long. Now you finally get to see the consequences of that. Emma, of course, wasn't ready to forgive completely, but she respected the effort. You've got a lot to prove, she said, smirking just a little. But I'll be watching. Don't disappoint me. Richard sat down with Carol privately, his voice firm but fair. You've caused a lot of pain, Carol, but I also see that you're trying. You're finally facing what's real. That's the start. Don't waste it. Even my grandparents began to recognize their role in the chaos. We thought we were helping, Grandma said, tears welling in her eyes. But maybe we protected Carol too much at the expense of the rest of you. I see that now. Carol nodded, taking it all in. I'll work on it. I want to make things right with Mike, with the family, and with myself. Over the next few weeks, Carol slowly rebuilt trust. She invited family members for small dinners, openly discussed the past, and answered questions honestly. It was awkward at times, emotions ran high, but it was genuine. She was no longer the untouchable golden child. She was a real person with real flaws. Mike and Carol took things slow. They went for long walks, talked for hours, and shared the secrets that had once been hidden. Slowly, their relationship began to heal, built now on honesty rather than assumptions and half-truths. The rest of the family, too, started learning how to interact without favoritism dominating every decision. My mom and Richard found a new balance in the family, no longer feeling overshadowed, and even Emma softened as she saw Carol's genuine remorse. By the next family gathering, things were calmer. Carol still had a long road ahead, but she faced it with humility and openness. The scars from the past remained, but there was progress, and for the first time in decades, the family felt like they might actually be able to move forward. It wasn't perfect, and it certainly wasn't easy, but Carol learned an important lesson. Being the favourite might shield you temporarily, but honesty and accountability are the only things that can truly sustain love and respect. And maybe, just maybe, that messy anniversary had been the push everyone needed.